First and Now is the official BC Lions podcast, the bye-week edition. Matt Baker alongside Nik Kowalski. For those watching this, as you can see, we are not at the Wall Center at the Go-Goat Sports Studios, but props to the Go-Goat boys for having us around. As always, you can catch this podcast on their website and whatever podcast platform you prefer. It is Matt Baker. It is Nik Kowalski. Nik, looks like you're back to working from home. That's good to see.
Yep, just at the apartment in Surrey. Where are you at? You're outdoors here?
I could be anywhere I say I'm going to be, technically, but no, in lovely Penticton. I know you're a relatively new British Columbian. I'm not sure if you've spent any time up here in the Okanagan, but a little bit of a bye-week retreat, if you will. With my wife and daughter and my parents. So got a nice house out here, a nice little outdoor setup. Probably you see behind me here. Maybe do some grilling later. We're recording this on a Tuesday morning. Drove up here Sunday afternoon, so got here in time for some dinner. Haven't really done much yet as of right now, but I think today's agenda will involve Okanagan Lake. Maybe get some ice cream.
Ooh.
So yeah, technically on vacation, but never on vacation from First and Now. We wanted to record an episode this week before we get into all the fun stuff and what we're going to talk about. So you're just being boring this bye week. You're just hanging out in Surrey.
Yeah, I'm trying to get outside. I mean, the weather is pretty beautiful right now, but I'll be heading to the office right after this, and just trying to enjoy the weather pretty much this week and take a little bit of a break.
Yeah, it's you kind of have to sort of step away from it. Kind of have to take it back. I mean, it's a bye week for the staff members too, and we have to talk about it. No sense avoiding it. It's a little bit of a wake-up call against the defending Grey Cup champions last Saturday afternoon. A 43-22 loss was kind of interesting from the start. Janarian Grant takes the opening kickoff back, and then you're playing catch-up against that team all night. I know there was quite the backdrop. I know it ended up being quite the media story with Marcus Sales and calling them vanilla, saying that we could beat them pretty badly. Hey, I'm all for being confident. I didn't really have any issues with those comments at the time, but sadly the result goes that way, and it's going to be a talking point. Your initial reactions, Nik, just to the loss overall and what went wrong?
Yeah, 100% about the comments. It just came down to executing, right? And at the end of the day, Winnipeg, they executed on all three phases better in that game, and they showed why they found a way to win football games pretty much throughout Zach Collaros' entire tenure with the team. And Collaros was at his best, certainly on Saturday. It was, in my opinion, one of the better, if not the best games I've seen him play in a Winnipeg uniform. I mean, there was just really no answer for him. Even when you thought you had him under wraps, he was making plays parallel to the field, like midair throws, and it was pretty ridiculous, but at the same time amazing to see that talent on display. But I know the team, Coach Rick, after the game, he said it's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint, all of that. And I mean, we're 5 weeks into the season and we're still 3-1 at this point. So yeah, it serves as a bit of a wake-up call and a good measuring stick to see where we're at in the West, but there's still plenty of football to be played, right?
Yeah, and hey, this might seem like a cop-out. This might seem like low-hanging fruit, as the kids would say, but if we're told at the start of the year we'll be 3-1 heading into this bye week, obviously you do cartwheels, because when you factor in say what you want about the records of some of these teams they've beaten. Edmonton came in here, but that's week one. Newcomers looking to make statements. Toronto, I don't care what anyone says. Toronto finished first in the East last year, right? Could have been in the Grey Cup. Very easily could have been representing the East at Tim Hortons Field. And Ottawa Red Blacks, third week, third game. Everyone going gaga about what they did in the offseason and, their own documentary Behind the R. A very good job by Josh and company. Everyone was that was kind of the new toy in the East Division, right? They're winless and they have some problems we'll probably touch on later, unfortunately. A bit of a black mark on the week that was in the CFL, went down in Saskatchewan. But yeah, 3-1. And you mentioned Zach Collaros. That was kind of vintage Zach Collaros, right? He used to be more known as that guy who could scramble, who could. I counted 5 or 6 plays where Boom Guacham, Sione. So yeah, we're gonna get this guy down for a loss, and he would find a way to escape and find Schoen or Ellingson, and Winnipeg's playmakers vastly outperformed our playmakers. And yeah, you have to call a spade a spade. They were full marks, and they came in here and made a big statement that yeah, it still goes through them, right? It still
Mhm.
goes through Winnipeg. Like, and I had a feeling this would be the case even going into last week. It's kind of going to be a three-way battle: us, the Riders, and the Stamps for second, and the chance to host a playoff game. Not counting out Edmonton yet, certainly, because we still have to play them 2 more times. But it's looking like the balance of power in the West is going to be Winnipeg up here, and the rest just scrambling to see who can try to take them down in November in the Western Final. But we talked about all these guys previewing it last week. Jefferson, Jeffcoat, Jackson Jeffcoat dropping back into coverage. It looked like the Lions were going to respond that opening kickoff, but nope. Impressive drive comes away with no points, and that's what a team like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will do. They'll take advantage of those miscues and they'll capitalize.
Yeah, it felt like throughout the game, whenever the BC offense got some life, or whenever Nathan Rourke started to answer back, just something would go wrong, and it was just almost like a reminder, like, no, this is still Winnipeg's game, and they're still in control. Whether it was the Rutledge interception, the play after the 2-point conversion to make it 37-22, that was when I think the Lions had the most life in that game, and it felt like, okay, there's a real shot that they can make a comeback out of this. And then very first play of that next drive where Nathan gets the ball, it's an interception. And then the very next play, it's in the Lions end zone, and it's a 43-22 game at that point, right? And yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I know Nathan and Coach Rick talked about this too, but just the way Winnipeg can deploy their players on defense. You mentioned Jackson Jeffcoat dropping back and intercepting a ball on the very first drive. And if you look at the end zone camera of that, you almost can't fault Nathan for, there's no way Nathan even saw Jeffcoat, or let alone expected him to be dropping in that position, right? To cover, I believe it was Keon Hatcher he was intending the ball to throw to. But um, the offense, I thought overall, turnovers aside, the turnovers hurt them definitely. But we saw Dominique Grimes make two, actually, I would say three highlight reel catches in that game. Two of them went for touchdowns. The other was a long completion in the second quarter. But the offense made some big plays, which is something that I know Winnipeg's been a little vulnerable to this season, especially through the air. And I think if you clean those turnovers up on offense, uh, we'll be fine in the next two battles with Winnipeg, maybe three. We'll see what happens in the postseason here. But I know Ryan Phillips and John Bowman, they're going to be hard at work this week trying to figure out what the plan is moving forward, and especially against a team like Winnipeg, and how to contain Collaros. And then on special teams, I know Don Janowski's going to have a long week too, tightening up that kick coverage that maybe was a bit exposed on Saturday, and just move forward from there.
Yeah, and then the last thing for me when analyzing that game, Winnipeg's so good on first down, especially early on, getting some chunk plays with their two running backs. And then second and long, just killer. I mean, I think it was their first offensive touchdown series. So when they went up 14-0, I think they took a procedure penalty, back them up 2nd and 12, and then Caleros does his thing and finds Schoen in the corner of the end zone. So yeah, they made big plays when they had to, and they made a very big statement. On this episode, mentioned Lions in a bye week. We're going to catch up with Quincy Mauger, one of the positives when it comes to the newcomers. Every year in training camp, there's a couple of guys that maybe you didn't think were on the radar to earn a spot. Quincy's been doing pretty good at safety. He had a great preseason game over Saskatchewan here at BC Place, and we talked to him and his roommate Manny Rugamba in Kamloops. Get that, Rugamba. Got to pronounce that right. I pronounced it wrong the first time I met him, and he hasn't let me forget it. Manny on the practice roster. Wonder if we'll see him get in at some point. But talk to those two about adjusting to CFL life and training camp life, the roommate life. But Quincy Mauger, I mentioned the former Georgia Bulldog, had a big game against LSU. in college when he was a freshman, I believe. And we're going to get Quincy's thoughts in just a few moments here on his first 4 games as a professional. And that's kind of been one of the nicer guys around, too, Nick.
Yeah, very genuine guy. He's, right from the get go in training camp, he was someone that actually walked up to me during rookie camp in Kamloops and started asking me about my camera, and I know he has an interest in all that too. So we kind of hit it off based on that common interest right off the get go. But he was the only guy to actually pull down Zach Collaros on Saturday. We got 1 sack in that game, and yeah, it was a safety blitz from that's position Quincy's been starting at the entire season. So I think he's been off to a pretty good season, and can ask him about this too. But he's known as maybe like a hard hitting ball hawk over the middle, and that's kind of the type of guy you want in the CFL too, right? So we saw that in the SEC, and he's especially in the preseason, he got interceptions in both games, right?
I believe so. Yeah, yeah. The
Mm-hmm.
defensive backs in Calgary, that first preseason game, really came to play. So we'll speak with Mr. Mauger coming up here momentarily on First and Now. And he joins us right now, the pride of Georgia Bulldogs, the national champions. He won't forgive us if we don't get that in this past year. Quincy Mauger, Lions safety on First and Now. Matt Baker, Nik Kowalski, as the Lions are preparing for a July 21st tilt with the Tiger Cats at BC Place. We'll talk more about that game next week. But Quincy, how goes it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Another day, another opportunity. I'm glad to be here with you guys. Let's talk.
Yeah, and then we of course talked a little bit back in training camp. Did the roommate stuff with you and Manny Rugamba, and
Yes,
it's like,
sir.
yeah, that Mauger guy. I hope he sticks around because he's going to be a good content guy this year. And you're making your First and Now debut, but to week off at least from football for the squad. You're in the facility doing treatments and perhaps doing a bit of film study, but started away from the field. Instagram, there's no more secrets. It looked like you and some of the boys had some fun times in the city there this week.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We going out to eat, going out to Kids Beach, just seeing what Vancouver has to offer, and I'll tell you, it's a lot. Vancouver's top tier, beautiful places that I've ever been a part of, and so being able to go out with my brothers, my team, they're family now, and just go out, enjoy, and get closer, especially on this bye week. You know, it gives us more to play for.
What'd you like most about the sites you've seen so far? What was your favorite?
Favorite? I mean, I'm a foodie, so if there's a chance for me to go eat somewhere, I'm gonna definitely go do it. So that's my go-to. Downtown has some great spots. A lot of different ethnicity and cultural food that I'm always willing to try, and so that's definitely my favorite part. And the sights, just when I went to Kids Beach, just seeing the water. Uh, just seem like I see like everywhere is a mountain, and it's just a beautiful sight. It's like a screensaver everywhere you go, so it's beautiful.
Before we bring in Nik Kowalski to ask his questions, I was talking to Kent Perkins once, and he's a big soul food guy, being from Texas, and he was complaining that he couldn't get the most authentic soul food in Vancouver. What about your favorite, and was your palate satisfied, or were you able to find what you were looking for compared to back home?
Well, I haven't found no soul food. I think he might be correct on that, but I will say as far as like wings, Indian food, man, I'll tell you everything. Italian food, it's really undefeated out here, and the quality of food in Vancouver is yeah, it's up there for sure.
Quincy, we'll talk. Let's talk some football now. I know last Saturday, obviously not the result the team wanted, the first loss of the season, but you got to see Zach Collaros and the two-time defending champs up close last week. What was the test that or what do you maybe what went wrong on Saturday in that game, and from your perspective?
Well, it's just one of those things where any given, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, we just got to come every week ready to play. And we didn't fire on all cylinders come last Saturday. And so it's one of those things that we get to have another opportunity to learn from our mistakes and get better and progress from there. And I know these guys just um, after that loss, everybody was ready to get back to work. I know it's a bye week for a lot of us, but we still have the same mindset just to get better.
Mhm. And you recorded the sack in that game, personally. Um, and I know they sent you a couple times on that safety blitz. When a guy like Caleros is that elusive, is there any what do you have to do maybe to actually take him down, or from your perspective?
Man, it's really the mindset. You just really got to go and give 100%. And, you know, everybody has a role to play. Defensive line fits their gaps, linebackers, and I shoot my gaps. So it's not necessarily just made just for me. It's everybody just run to the ball, and somebody's going to get there. And so somebody made it home, and I'm glad that I was able to, share that one.
Hmm. And this is your first season in the CFL now too. You're 4 games into your professional career up here, and you're someone who actually made the team as a walk-on first-year player into the CFL. And if across the league, there's maybe one or two Americans on each team that actually get a starting position from day one in the team. So we'll take it back to camp here. Did you feel like you had a good camp? And what in your mind, what made you earn that starting spot for week one?
Man, it goes all the way back to early workouts. Before we got out here. So me training with Lily back in Georgia. She's an awesome trainer. She knows how to get you mentally prepared, physically prepared, um, and and it's funny because that's where I met Gary Peters, GP. He's kind of been like a role model as well, just kind of making sure that anything that I need to know, or if I need anything, he's always there. But just the preseason, workouts, I think that's got me there. And man, I just love football. All the people that support me back at the crib is just, it's just another motivation just to go harder. And so when I came out here in Vancouver, at that time, Cam Loops, you know, once, it's beautiful out there. You're in Canada, so you just wake up and like, man, I was just back in Georgia. Now I'm in Canada. It's a beautiful sight. So you can't take nothing for granted. And, I took every opportunity to just, thank God and go hard every day.
Yeah, you've certainly had a different type of exposure to the outdoor scenery, Kamloops, and
Oh, yeah.
we talked about your sightseeing this week. You got to come up. I'm in Penticton, BC, kind of toward Kamloops, but further east. Quincy, this week. This is the Okanagan Lake is your the next stop you got to come to next bye week. Just so you know, I'll give you all the pointers. I'll send you to the right spots.
Oh,
Um,
no, I'm coming with you. I'm coming with you. I'm
okay,
pulling up at your spot.
let's do it. I'll make sure. I'll see if this house here is available once again. Yeah, so we're on to Hamilton to use the Bill Belichick line. On to Hamilton. Who you
Mhm.
high fiving there, by the way?
That's my man James Moore, man. Me and him, we tap in spiritually, on the devotion. But top tier, one of the funniest guys on this team.
I
If
gotta
you,
send you this picture. I gotta send you this picture. Mine is I was listening to TD Jakes yesterday.
I'm telling you, he's top tier.
Nah,
You're
I'm
not top.
gas.
You're not top tier.
Gas.
I'm guessing you.
High key.
Low key, high
He
key.
said,
Tell him we'll get him on here before the season's over. Don't worry. But we're on to Hamilton, and we talked a lot about how there's been a lot of buy-in on this defense. I mean, RP has done a great job. You mentioned him earlier. Guys are creating turnovers, doing the dancing. Everyone's trying to keep up with RP in the dancing, but Talk about how fun this group is to be part of, Quincy, specifically in the secondary.
Oh man, I'm telling you, like I said, there's nothing but vets, and I can call any one of the vets up, and they're always willing to help. Or if they just want to, if I want to go chill with them, they're always willing to, tell me to come pull up, or come pull up on me. So it's one of those, respect level, all across the board. Everybody just loves being around each other. It's not forced, especially with RP. RP is one of us. He's played the game. He's been through the trials and tribulations that all football athletes have to go through, and he's made those plays. So he's seen it, and he enjoys every bit of our success, as if he was on the field with us. And so just to see a group of guys like that, it's hard not to play hard for them. You know what I'm saying? So definitely one of the best groups that I've ever been a part of in my professional career.
Backtracking a little bit, got to know you again in training camp and talked about some of the big games you've played in. Specifically with Georgia, it was your freshman year, I believe. Tell some of our listeners who
For
might not be
sure.
familiar. You played against LSU, and they had a couple of key playmakers on the other side. What was that game like?
A couple, let me tell you, they had Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. They definitely had Dion. We call him Debo. Uh, Man, they had Mettenberger. The list really goes on. At the end of the day, I think they had over 10 first rounders that year, and that was the most packed I've ever seen. Athens, the classic city, the best college in the nation right now and forever. And man, it was a great game. It went all the way down to the wire, and definitely the most memorable moment that I can say I've been a part of.
Did you any fun exchanges with Odell, Jarvis, or those guys? I mean, I know Gary Peters talked about exchanging gloves with Odell when he beat him at Clemson. I think it was the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Any cool exchanges like that?
Nah, I didn't do any exchanges. I had a couple friends out there that was went to the same high school district as me, so it was cool to kind of uh, just link up with them and just seeing their progression as well. But no exchanges from Odell, even though that probably would have been smart to probably trade a glove or two.
I know, Quincy, from your perspective too, or in your own role, you're playing safety this season, and in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but safety is one of the more different positions when it comes to the Canadian game and the American game. In terms of that, there's only one safety in Canada.
Yeah,
It's pretty much a
for
free
sure.
role. Um, but I know you mentioned that the secondary is a group full of veterans, and this group, including like Luches, TJ, Marcus, they all have CFL experience playing safety. So have those guys in particular gave you any advice or tidbits on how to maybe or just advice in general on the safety role in Canada and what you're playing right now?
Oh, for sure. And as a rookie, um, that's my job to be able to you know take the knowledge that they give. I can't be closed minded or act like I know it all. Like these guys have been there, and so anything that they want to tell me to kind of help me better my game to put the team in a better position, I'm always willing to take criticism and anything, and just being able to fly around. Those guys, they trust me back there, and so as long as they trust me, I'm able to be able to play faster and make more plays.
And then I know you started off your preseason in action quite well. I believe you had an interception in both games. One of them
For
coming in the
sure.
very first quarter. Did you have any like welcome to the CFL moment, or maybe what was like the biggest difference that you found coming up here to play the Canadian game?
Definitely. The biggest two things that coming to Canada was definitely the field, is definitely a lot wider and longer, and the end zones is just forever long. So it's one of those things that you got to mentally and physically prepare for. And another thing that I had to adjust was the waggle. So you're, standing 10 toes down on the field, and you got somebody running, full speed at you. And so it's one of those things that you kind of have to discipline your eyes, knowing what to look at, to be able and just listen to trust your coach. RP always says, just I'm gonna put you in the right position to make those plays. So I've taken, all that in consideration, and just kind of everything has slowed down for me, especially with these vets trying to teach me what I need to look at, and so doing all that has put me in a great position, and just working hard to just get better.
You saw a couple pretty good ones there last week. Ellingson, Schoen, Rashid Bailey. Who are some of the tougher receivers that you've encountered up here so far?
Oh man, tougher receivers. Lucky, Brian Burnham, Rhymes. Uh, no joke. The guys that we have, right? I definitely believe that we have some of the top tier receivers, and they prove it day in and day out. Um, these guys are hungry, and we see it, especially like guys like Josh Pearson. And we got guys that that's on the practice squad that's ready to hit the field as well. So we have a great depth on receivers, and they're all great. As far as the opponents, we've seen a lot of great receivers. Um, at the end of the day, we just got to kind of lock in, on what's our alignment assignment, and just play football.
You wish you were playing this week? After hopefully that sour taste doesn't linger, or will you gladly take a few days away from the football?
I mean, like I said, I love football. So, if I can practice and get better and, get ready for a game, I'll definitely take it. But I also will not argue if they give us a couple days off. So I definitely will be taking this week to, rest, recover, work out, and mentally prepare for the next upcoming week.
What about the rest of the bye week here? What do you got going on? Any fun activities?
Oh man, food, and more food. I think we're gonna probably do some more some team stuff. I know some guys want to go to the beach, uh, sightseeing. I know JB James Butler. He loves to go hiking, and so I'm probably might tap in with him and just be a tourist.
hmm Have you done any hikes here yet?
Not yet, not yet. They some people told me about it, so I got to mentally prepare because I'm not a big hiker, but I know I have to one of these days.
Get James to take you up the Grouse Grind. It's a nice, relaxing nature hike.
Hey man, look, Baker know all the spots. It sounds like I just need to go ahead. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pack my bag, pack a couple snacks. We'll pick up some McDonald's on the way, and then we just head out.
McDonald's after is better.
No, for sure, you might be right on that.
I'm sure they appreciate the free plug as well. Hey Quincy, this has been outstanding, and we've wanted to get you on for more of a longer form type interview, and this was it. And there's better times ahead. I mean, sometimes you have to go through the losses to really appreciate the good times, right? I guess what we'll ask in closing.
For sure, definitely. We're just gonna keep working, keep stacking these chips, and you know how hard we work and how much we put in will reflect later in the season.
Nicely done, sir. Thank you very much for taking the time, and go keep that James Moore in line now.
I got you. All right, fellas.
First and Now, the official BC Lions podcast. You can check us out at gogoatsports.com. Not at the Wall Center today, but doing this the old-fashioned way, remote. We've loved being at the Go Goat Sports Studios in the Wall Center. We'll be back there next week. But Nik Kowalski with us as always, and that's a great, good young fella there, that Quincy Mauger.
Yeah, Quincy was definitely one of the guys that stuck out at the start of Kamloops. He's the type of guy. I was looking at his highlight tape even on YouTube from his Georgia Bulldog days, and he's a hard hitting safety too. So that side of him maybe hasn't come out just opportunity based in the CFL yet, but just as maybe a tease in advance, I think we'll see some hard hits laid by Mr. Mauger throughout the rest of the season.
Oh, it's coming. I have a feeling it's coming. Maybe as soon as next Thursday against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I have to play this game sometimes. I mean, Quincy Mauger is a classic example. This is a guy grew up in a football factory, suburban Atlanta, Georgia Bulldog. That's big time right there. You ever hear a naysayer saying that there's not real athletes, not real football players up here? There's your prime example that's a stupid argument. He's a great player, and just because not every guy who excels in a big program goes on to a long NFL career, and you heard it. He's taken down OBJ and Landry and them with the LSU Tigers. Apologies, Tyler Gammon, if you're listening, our resident LSU football fan, but that's a great story. Love stories like that, and you're hearing a guy embracing the city of Vancouver, maybe becoming a transplanted Canadian one day. You never know. Love that very much, and you can tell that there's a little bit of coming back down to earth with this team. I mean, they have to face the music now, and I know we talk a little bit about this in our group chat after the game, Nik. I mean, that's one product of the benches being on the same sideline at BC Place. There's a lot more John back and forth between players as they're coming off, and guys like Willie Jefferson and whoever running by and yelling stuff. It's fine. They back it up. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers talk. They back it up. That's the team. That's what this Lions team is trying to become. They're trying to become the hammer and not the nail. And that was a nice little lesson I found. It's I don't want to say I'm glad we lost, but we're going to see what kind of team this really is, Nik.
Yeah, I mean, you hope to go 18-0 every season, but in reality, that's not what's gonna happen, right? So, I agree fully. It's a good learning lesson, and I mean, there's tons of football to be played. There's tons of measuring sticks too to come up. I mean, this West, BC's in fourth place now in the Western Division just by virtue of that loss. It just shows how strong that division is and how many meaningful games is going to be in the future, and especially we have a trip to Regina, a trip to Calgary coming up too, to up in August here and the end of July. So, I mean, there's going to be some big games played, and we're going to really see where each of these Western teams stacks up before Labor Day even.
2 trips to Regina, a trip to Calgary, a home game with the Riders, another one with the Edmonton Elks, and the Tiger Cats coming in here. All those trips and all these games before Labor Day. We get twice in 3 weeks, go to Saskatchewan, twice in 4 weeks, twice in 3, I think. So we're going to go through the meat grinder here, and I'll tell you what, I absolutely love it. Before we're out of here, go around the league, a little news and notes. Just the 3 games last week. The first one we saw, hey, I got home Thursday night, picked up my daughter from grandparent daycare, and was ready to settle in and watch a good slobber knocker between Calgary and Edmonton. Wasn't quite that. There were some weather delays, and the Stampeders, that game really turned with the field goal return touchdown. Just got out of hand. You thought maybe the Edmonton Elks might be onto something here, ready to build off their big win from the week before, and not so much. But Calgary, balanced football, wins out again, 49-6.
Yeah, a good old 122-yard score in the CFL by Peyton Logan there that earned him one of the top performers of the week award. And Malik Henry continues to really impress at the receiving spot for Calgary. I believe he leads the entire CFL in receiving yards right now. Bo Levi Mitchell's, I think it seems like he's hitting that corner ball really well this season. A lot of his touchdowns are coming right to that. And Yeah, Calgary looks really strong on defense too. I think their linebackers are very strong. Titus Wall's another name that's really emerged as a first year defensive player. Started from day one on these exact kind of same position as Quincy Mauger here, and I mean, they still have a guy like Cherry Roberson in their defense at cornerback, right? That just stars are all over on Calgary. So I think I was maybe a little down on them to start the year, but I not now I'm fully aware of how dangerous they are.
Yeah, and mentioned it. Going to play Calgary 3 times, twice in August. So the Stampeders and Bombers, we'll talk about this week's games, will face each other, battle of the unbeatens. But the only other game, and unfortunately had a bit of a black mark on it, Saskatchewan defeats Ottawa, so they get to 4-1. So they're right there in this Western meat grinder, like I called it. But Garrett Marino, that came down the day before we recorded this on Monday, suspended 4 games. Right decision, maybe a little late, maybe, but the suspension was kind of broken down into different offenses. There was the unfortunate, the bad, the dirty play on Jeremiah Masoli, and then some alleged racist comments, which I believe, well, they were investigated, obviously. They came to the conclusion it was worth the discipline. So we don't condone any of that. And, you know, props to the CFL for getting it right. And from Garrett Marino's perspective, Nick, and you know, all you can do is just hope he smartens up and learns from both the football part of it and the other part of it. That's just unfortunate that we're still having these incidents take place, but the league got it right in handling it with discipline.
Yeah, exactly. It's unfortunate all around that these events happened, and I know that game got a bit out of hand. I know Pete Robertson also got injured, and I know the Riders were not happy about how that play unfolded. And he's going to be out for a couple weeks too. So that's their star defensive lineman too. For my money, was maybe the front runner for the most outstanding defensive player too this season. I think he has 7 sacks already. So it was a physical game, and yeah, lines were crossed, and the right punishment was handed out. And there's been we've seen players speak out about it. We've seen a lot of media speak out about it, and it's just something that can happen going forward. And like you said, hopefully Garrett Marino has learned his lesson at this point, and can, when he returns, or if he returns to the Riders, can be a clean football player. And to be honest, he's a quite effective football player, discipline aside. So I know the Riders are hoping that they can fix that discipline issue they maybe have. I know they're leading the league in penalties by a large margin again. So that's if there's any like weak spot on Saskatchewan, that's what I would say it is right now.
Discipline, yeah, and yeah, you just hope that everyone involved learns from this, and really all the best to Jeremiah Masoli. Going to be out for the balance of the season, 10 to 12 weeks, I think, what's been reported. So, I mean, you keep saying the Ottawa Redblacks are due to turn a corner here, and they go out and address it in part by getting Nick Arbuckle. So Mr. Arbuckle on the move again. Speaking of news and notes, Edmonton moving Arbuckle for, what was it, a 4th-round draft pick. So yes. Ottawa's going to need a stopgap of some kind here. And it doesn't really get any easier for the Redblacks because they are going to travel to winless Hamilton this week, talking about going around the league. So that's not going to be an easy situation because both those teams are desperate for a win as we get on with week 6. Ottawa-Hamilton will wrap up the week on Saturday. So I know I've kind of been hard on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, our next opponent, but I kind of get the feeling they're going to get off the schneid this week, Nick.
Yeah, I would like Hamilton here too. And it's funny that one of these teams is going to be 0-5 after week 6 here. But yeah, I'm not even sure. Is Nick Arbuckle in line to get the start for Saturday?
I think not. I would think not.
It'd be Caleb Evans.
Evans, and Caleb Evans there last year, a guy who's familiar with it. And, you know, it is a long week of practice here. They're not going to play again until Saturday. But I imagine he didn't arrive there until today, being Tuesday. So wouldn't think he's on the field until midweek. So in the long run,
I just saw a video of Arbuckle today on the field. He's wearing number 19. Yeah, he's wearing number 19 with Ottawa.
So my speculation was wrong, as always. So interesting times. They get even more interesting in that East Division. The first part of that Saturday doubleheader, as we go in reverse order here, Saskatchewan 4-1 in Toronto 1-3. The Argos did everything they could to try to somehow knock off those Blue Bombers last week. And, well, technically it would have been the week before last week. It was a Monday game, but wrapping up week 4. The Argos, can they bounce back here and do us a favor, Nik?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's a neutral site, right? It's Touchdown Atlantic.
Yeah, correct. Touchdown Atlantic. Yeah. Forgive me.
On Saturday, yeah. So that's I'm just looking at the schedule right now. It's an 11 a.m. Pacific start, so that's an early one for CFL football. But I like the Riders overall. They look like a decent or a different team on the road, at least so far this season. We saw that loss in Montreal that they didn't look like themselves, and even when they went to Edmonton, they only beat the Elks by, I want to say, 10 points. So they are a different team on the road, but it is a neutral site, and I'm a believer in the Riders. I think they're a strong team, and again, maybe the discipline issue is something that's holding them back a bit, but I think they'll get it done. Unfortunately, in the West, will only get better.
Yeah, forgive me. Touchdown Atlantic, of course, a big part of the schedule. We still hope Toronto does it on the Maritimes for us. Battle of the Titans, 5-0 Winnipeg, 4-0 Calgary at IG Field. Friday night football. There's your game of the week, Nik. Didn't see any indication from the Blue Bombers that they're that they're going to tail off anytime soon. It's really another statement game for Winnipeg. They still want to prove it's going to go through them, and we all know how well they play in front of their home fans, particularly since acquiring Mr. Caleros in 2019.
Yeah, 100%. That one's going to be another interesting one too, because right now in Winnipeg, it feels like they, especially after Saturday's win for them, they feel like they're almost, or at least the fan base, I imagine, feels that everything's fine and all their maybe early season issues are resolved. And when it speaks to the running game and the kicking game and all of that, but I mean, Calgary is another big test for them. I'm interested to see if they can move the ball on offense against Calgary without Caleros maybe scrambling. Maybe if they can keep running, because Winnipeg ran the ball pretty well last Saturday with Brady Oliveira and Johnny Augustine, as you mentioned. But I want to see them do it again, and because they did struggle the first month of the season in that aspect, right? So I'm not. If they can do it against Calgary, I'm ready to say, okay, Winnipeg is going to be a big force again, and don't really have a weak spot. But I mean, Calgary usually plays well at IG Field. That's definitely the marquee game of the week for me.
And it all starts on Thursday night. How about storylines here? The Elks in Montreal. Edmonton giving Taylor Cornelius the start at quarterback. Trey Ford is out. Nick Arbuckle, again, traded to Ottawa. Montreal, Danny Machocha. First game on the sidelines as head coach since they fired Kahari Jones and Baron Miles. We wish those two the best. Two great former Lions, I might add, losing their jobs at the Alouettes. Interesting timing there, middle of last week. But Edmonton and Montreal, if this Alouettes team, Nik, can't respond after a big wake-up call like that, costing a couple guys their jobs, you really have to wonder if Trevor Harris and company are going to be contending here.
Yep. This is a huge one for Montreal, and they're still right in the middle of it in the East, right? And I know Edmonton on the flip side is falling behind in the West. But I do expect Montreal to bounce back here. I mean, Trevor Harris, it's against his old club too, so I think that's a little bit of extra motivation. But yeah, Taylor Cornelius is back for the Elks. That's a very interesting storyline too, and more of a gunslinger. Not afraid to throw the ball wherever kind of quarterback. He's really big too for a quarterback in the CFL. I think he's like 6'5". So we'll see what Edmonton has on offense, and see Montreal under the Danny Machocha era.
2 East versus West games this week. Could we possibly get some help? Possibly. Not going to hold my breath, but
we'll see.
Hey, and we're going to wrap up with this nugget, Nik. I thought about this with the Arbuckle trade. So the Lions will face the Elks on August 6th at BC Place. Might Trey Ford be back for that one? I'm not sure, but it could very well be, I think, the 6th meeting with Edmonton, and it'll be a 6th different starting quarterback, 5 or 6. I'm going to go through it. October 2019, Edmonton started Logan Kilgore. Remember, Trevor Harris was hurt. That was the night Mike Riley broke his wrist, ended the Lions' playoff hopes mathematically. Home opener in 2021, they had Trevor Harris. Later that year, traded him. The final game of 2021, they had Taylor Cornelius start. They had Dakota Prukop come in relief. And then the fourth meeting, so yeah, it would be number 5. Week 1 this year, they had Nik Arbuckle. So if Cornelius doesn't start that August 6th game and it's Trey Ford, it'll be the 5th straight meeting with Edmonton where it's a different starting quarterback the Lions face. A little bit of trivia for you.
Wow, it's good memory on you there. And they also have Kai Loxley too, the receiver / quarterback who's banged up right now too, but he's another option too. Yeah, they put him under center last week for a bit against Calgary. So a lot of options at quarterback for Chris Jones and the Elks.
Love Danny O'Brien. He, of course, briefly was a member of the coaching staff the COVID year. Then he went to Penn State. Riley goes down in that Edmonton game in 19, and it's Mr. O'Brien against Logan Kilgore. 2 great guys, not exactly a spicy matchup for fans, and it was a crappy game, too. I think it was like 19-6 Edmonton. So, yeah, let's put 2019 to bed officially. So. Mm-hmm. All right, sir. I know you're late for the office, so we had a great recording here. Thanks to Trevor Martins producing the program. Go Goat Sports. We'll aim to be back in the Wall Center next week. And First and Now is on Twitter at First and Now. I'm at BakesTakes84. He is at Nick_Kowalski. Nick with a K only. I like that. Love that. And be sure you can download all the previous episodes. Had some great ones recently. Keon Hatcher, Dominique Rhymes. Lucas Moore gave us a great insight on Nathan Rourke. We even had Nathan Rourke on a recent episode just around training camp. So catch up on those episodes, and we'll be back to preview the Thursday night game with the Hamilton Tiger Cats next week on First and Now.